And then you add the Aboriginal stuff into it, and I don't mean the fire side. It's like we've been trying to figure out what cycle this is. And now I can ask Auntie and Uncle and go, right, when the falls burn, this is your guys' land. So when the falls burn, what cycle like how where's that story? Where's the story where Nuthangali and his 7 daughters got pissed off and they burnt the forest?
Yeah.
Down here in the Dark Bull country. I was like, because if we can find that one, that's where we're at.
Well, we talk about the astrology aspect of it, right? So there's a guy, and I haven't had a chance to get back in touch with him because my last 3-4 weeks has been brutally insane.
If he's in fucking
Montana Skywatcher. Here we go. Montana Skywatcher. Sam Hoffman. There we go.
A watcher.
Anyways, his whole thing is, and like I said, I'm not saying that this is right or wrong or he's got the answer or not, but he's talking about, everyone says Nibiru, talks about Nibiru as a single entity, as one planet, one sun type thing, right? Or some say it's a planet, some say it's a sun, etc. And he's saying, no, it's an entire system.
Yeah.
Like that basically, like, our solar system is a binary star system, and like we have Sol here and all our planets go around it, but then there's Nibiru here and all his planets go around it, and they're doing this, and that every 26,000 years the two systems
come
the
back
planets
through.
are literally doing this. He's saying, like, basically it's like this. Right? He's got a Facebook page.
I'm on
group. He's got thousands of pictures. Now, some of them I look at and go, well, I don't know about that. But he's got some photos where you're like, well, I don't know that I can say he's wrong, because it's some of those anomalies are such that you go, and it makes sense from the geo. So for me, the geomagnetics have been insane again for the last 2 months, like fucking epically insane, doing shit on the magnetopause that in magnetosphere we've never seen before, right?
Yeah.
Since around the 22nd of September.
Yeah.
And I've said, well, when we look at the incidences, like we're all of a sudden for 3 weeks in January, we had that same massive solar storm that would happen every night at midnight in the geomagnetics.
Yeah.
Every night at midnight. Yeah. And it was off the charts, huge. And I kept saying there has to be a third variable in the puzzle. It can't just be the sun and the earth. There has to be a third variable, because we would see direction to it, right? You'd see how the hits were pulling to north and pushing things around. And now we're seeing the same kind of thing where we're having blast after blast, and they kind of come in sets of days, as if another planetary body is doing this, right?
Yeah.
So he's got something, like there's something to it, and he's in Montana, so I don't know how big Montana is, but
pretty big. But
just something to cut. And what I was getting back to was the origines and the elders, and they've talked about like Aboriginal astrology, really, and planetary stuff. So do they talk about the second Nibiru system? And if they do they talk about maybe some of these, not second suns, but like other planets? And you're kind of like, when this planet comes overhead, all of a sudden the fires burn because
and that remember, so that was that whole thing. So it's like we learned that rainbow serpent was Venus.
Yes, and that's what I'm talking about, that kind of stuff.
And that side of it. But so this is where we've got, it's like, what are these other strange gods, that aren't annotated by the planets? You get what I mean? Like, so you got Jupiter, Saturn,
Venus, and Mars.
So what are these other, like, what have we been comparing to, like Pluto? There's another name.
It's gone out of my head now.
Was it not what's hell in Greek? Hell?
Hades.
Hades.
Yeah.
So, but
Pluto and Hades.
What if it's not Pluto? What if Hades is Pluto's, like, brother, sister?
Well,
and it's actually another planet.
so
And then you've got
couple of the videos that I watched when I just discovered the Sam Hoffman guy. That, and unfortunately, it's one of those things where you go back and go, like with my YouTube. I talked about it 2 or 3 shows ago. 3 shows ago.
Yeah.
There was another video that was talking about, for example, they were going on about these different things. Sorry, this is the lies you're being told, or the truth they're not telling you. Oh, it's a famous video, and the guy is a whistleblower, and he came out of the agencies, and the video is from 2008.
Yeah.
At a conference, and so of course, leaving that as a marker of 2008 is when he did this conference. And again, he's talking about Nibiru, and he's talking about all this stuff, and he talks about in 2004 or 2004 NASA announced there's a new planet in our solar system.
Yeah.
Coming in outside where Pluto is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then nothing. And I went, he's talking, I'm looking up the information, and I'm going, okay, well, here's the information. Like, you can see where he's not giving you bullshit. Here's the NASA announcement about this planetoid. Not another word gets said again. So remember when they said we had a second moon?
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
That was like 2-3 years ago. And then another word has been said.
Wasn't even that long ago, that one.
Maybe it was 2 years ago, tops.
No, I'm even thinking that one may have actually been even at the start of this year.
No, it was longer than that.
Yeah.
It was 2018 at the least. And, we sat there and I was like, okay, so this is again where they leak out this one piece of information. Oh, there's another moon out there. But then they never go back and say anything about it. But now we have all these moon anomalies. So WSO, Steve Olson on WSO, is on this major thing at the moment, calling out people to take pictures of the moon and send them to him and say, with a time, date, and place, i.e., Montana, 2:00 in the morning,
so
November
he can
5th.
Track, so that he can track it and map it.
Because the people are saying, like, and saying, like, get your compass out, measure your degrees.
Angles,
And he says, because they're coming in and people are seeing the moon, and like in one place it's at 10 degrees, in other places it's 60 degrees, and yet they're like, 200 miles apart. And like, you can't have a variation of that much.
But this is where that trip comes in, where it's like, that's relying on a pole.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, because that's that whole thing. Is if you start, like, if you look at the Inigo Jones aspect of things, it's like the planets have angles from the zodiac, and then they have a alignment through the Earth on longitude latitudes.
Yeah.
So it's like you can, and that's why he can predict, like he can do a birth chart or whatever, a meteorological map on with the astrological charts, and map out, like, it's going to rain here, but it's not going to rain there because this planet's angle.
Because I haven't had a chance to track down Inigo's stuff. Like, I just haven't. We're looking at the massive fires in California again. Massive fires in Australia again. We've had, South America, the Amazon, which was mostly farm fires, deliberate farm fires, right, doing what they do every year. But, for example, the Congo, like the whole of Central Africa has been on fire for months. We had the Arctic, we had Siberia on fire. So when because you know me, I keep looking at this and saying, I'm positive this is not just, I'm sure some of these fires are started by negligence, and God knows they caught some guy, a guy and a woman, 2 different instances trying to start fires in California.
Yeah, right.
I mean, besides that, when we see these come, and it's like yearly, and I'm like, okay, so what is the significant geomagnetic, electromagnetic connection that happens in those places at those times?
Well, and that's where, like, with the girls, they've been saying, all the 5 planets are going into the fire signs. and the earth signs are going into the earth signs. So it's like, you know, you've got this, it's like, oh, so earth's on fire. Okay. Because that's the other side of it, is like I think that we keep trying to look way too micro at this. We're trying to figure out within Earth's kind of, it's kind of like that whole thing with the sun, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, that the sun only looks like that on the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's creating on the atmosphere, which is where the whole like flat Earth and them being the same. So it's like, but you're taking, that's not the size of the sun.
No.
Just like that's not the size of the moon.
Yep.
That's the size of its impression on our atmosphere.
Yep.
Of whatever
exactly.
energy
And
it's
you
giving
talk
off.
about magnifying glass or microscope, like vice versa type thing. Like we know this happens.
Yeah. So our atmosphere would be the reason that they're the same size.
Yeah.
Right. The distance from us to the light that they put off. Like if the moon was as bright as the sun, it would probably appear bigger.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So when you start looking out there, you know, grand solar minimum, fucking fire signs and the fire signs, earth signs on the earth signs, water signs are definitely not in the water signs, hence the droughts. And so, and everyone's,
yeah, but then you also, on the flip side of that, you also have the floods, right?
But you've got floods. But see, this is this whole thing. So everyone's going global warming, but there's places that are fucking freezing their tits off. So what they should be saying is climate change. And yes, you've got climate change.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on. But then you've got to weigh up, is it natural or not unnatural? Yeah. And then you've got to put it on the table in the context. So we're not talking about
man-made CO2
because there is more going on than just that. That's not to say that man-made CO2 or that man-made pollution isn't catching the fuck on fire.
No. And that's the whole thing. I mean, you talk about the chemtrails and all the fucking shit in the chemtrails that's falling down on top of all these lovely forests.
Yeah.
All these particulates that we know are fire hazard.
So far. Well, that's how we know that the fires are traveling 12 to 30 kilometers, is because of that stuff. That's why. Because wood burns like wood burns. And when we only had wood, it only traveled a few kilometers.
Yeah.
Fire now can travel tens of kilometers because of embers, right? So that means that air particulate or whatever's in the air is hot enough to stay alight and or hot enough that when it lands, it creates more combustion.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is technically, it's like, if you really, really look at it, yes, it's dry, but this is our atmosphere catching on fire. You know, yes, there's fuel. Yes, it's dry, but what's the catalyst for fire? Oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the air burning. Right. And that's what I mean. It's like we look too macro, and it's like the reason we've had floods is because when the planets are spinning around, those water planets have actually hit a mark, and that's hit on its energy angle, it's hit Earth. But the general is fire planets are fire planets. The Earth has got, the sun is at its weakest. So whatever energy those planets are coming in is not being pushed off as much because we don't have the flares, and the sun's further away. So they have, at this point, whatever the planetary influences are, the planets are at their greatest influence, because the sun is at its least influence. This is that whole levity thing. So it's that, well, it is, right?
No, I totally agree.
At its furthest reaches, it's its weakest, and at its furthest point out from its center, it's the strongest. So it's kind of like all those energies are levity energies, because normally they'd get pushed away by the sun. I guess that's the kind of easiest way to kind of put it.
Yeah, but
and
the
we're
sun's doing
sitting
jack
here
shit
looking
right
for,
now.
yeah, looking
right
for,
now.
but quite rightfully, because it's in its minimum. And if it's in its big minimum, which is also a potential, then that means that, which is the main thing we should be looking at, is are we in a grand solar minimum, or are we in a grand solar minimum?
Yeah.
Because between those two, it negates and depletes the sun's influence even more so.
Are we on the 400-year cycle? Are we on the 2600-year cycle? Are we on the 75-year cycle? And because we've sat there and gone, okay, well, we knew what happened. Like in the 30s, it was these fires, it was these hard freezes, there was all these heat waves. Okay, so it's like, say, is it another 75-year cycle, or is it that 400-year cycle that they talk about, or is it or a combination of like all three lining up at once?
That's right. That's right. And then has that three all like are we literally coming in?
Yes, I know. I have to go put little Kel to bed and you to bed. Go, you go, boys. Go get ready for bed. Go get into bed. I'll be there in just a few minutes to sing some songs. Okay?
Yeah. So it's like, have we got like an age of enlightening coming through?
Enlightening?
In our definition of that, right? Like that being more, we have more access, and therefore we actually have the potential to know more. And that's going on at the same time as this other fucking grand cycle that's fucking like boom, 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 boom.
And smacking me upside the head. That's all I know.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking tired, Ben. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah,
I'm so fucking tired.
It's interesting being in these realms, like, and trying to traverse between, because you're like, wow, that's a fucking sign. Which way is that sign?
Like I said, it's like universe, could you be a little more clear of exactly what you're saying here?
Because I totally get it, but are you saying like that is the path that needs to be dealt
cleared
with now?
Or is that the path that you need me to walk on?
Yeah. Because I'm hearing you. I know. I've been like, I've had your back for a little while now.
Hey, Ben.
Hey, bro. How are you?
All right. Not too bad.
You know the fires in Australia?
Mm-hmm.
They're in his paddock.
Oh, shit.
They're like that close to the house right now.
That was my parents, man, a few years ago. They fucking, entire mountain across from their house was burning. They got evacuated and everything.
Yeah, well, this has stayed up on the ridge and then crept down and then gone right round. So, because we're in a fucking
bowl,
yep. It's like, but it's coming through, Nick. It's not coming down the valley. It's coming through the rainforest.
Well, if it does its thing, maybe it'll burn a fire break around you.
Yeah, well, it should do that because of our paddocks. It just depends on how engulfed it kind of gets, as opposed to burning down and through.
Yeah.
So quite interesting.
Are you in the US?
He's still in Montana.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Hence the thick, warm jacket he's got on while he's in his office.
If I was in Aussie, I'd be like, bro, check out these fires.
We said rainforest, so I was like, they don't have fucking rainforest in Montana.
No. I mean, his home in Australia is.
Oh shit! Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So right up in the valley, it's like, but it's come through the rainforest. It's not burning through people's paths. It's literally coming through the motherfucking rainforest.
Burning out all the fucking old eucalyptus trees.
Yeah, yeah, you got it. It's like, it's actually cleaning house. It's like, well, you motherfuckers didn't listen, because those trees aren't supposed to be there.
And
like, that's the whole thing.
Really volatile, those bastards.
Yeah. So it's like I say, it's like watching this sort of LORE play out and going, oh, because that fire is not supposed to go there. So it means that something really fucking bad on the land is going down, because that fire itself has essentially broken its own universal law. It's supposed to stop at the gullies where all the rivers are, but it's gone from the middle of it.
It just
Yeah, but
and
man,
it's going through
fire
all of it.
is
It's
weird
like,
shit
woo.
once it gets started. Like in BC with the wildfires, we watch and there's no rhyme to or reason to the path that it follows, the way the wind draws, the way it makes its own
Yeah,
wind.
oh,
Like
for
it'll
sure,
literally
for
burn a
sure.
fucking line, and it'll be green trees and burn trees and a fucking hard line, and
Yeah.
and there's no rhyme or reason for it. It'll burn right through a village, and it'll fucking leave one house standing right in the middle of the village, and everything else is burned around it. So it's fucking weird what it does.
This is where that trip comes in, because you can walk out with them after doing fires, or even after bad fires have happened, and the fire itself will normally, like, they'll go, see that gully, fire's not allowed in there, and it'll go and put itself out. It's like, oh. So looking, like, you know, not just looking at it from this point of view, but looking at it from, I guess, the actual law of the interpreted law of the land, you know, that these people have sort of we've been talking about. It's like,
origines.
oh.
You know what though? Fire is an essential part of life in any land. You know.
But this is it.
Oh, totally.
He tried to
Totally.
convince
But
them to do a controlled burn 2 years ago, and everyone was like, no, no, no. And now it's like, oh shit, should have done that controlled burn 2 years
and
ago.
like, in the whole law of fire does this, fire does this. If fire does that, something bad's happened on that country. And if fire does this, something bad's happened on that country. And it's like,
Well, something bad could be as simple as the proper custodians not being listened to or taken away outright. You know.
Exactly, right? Exactly. And that's exactly. And I keep saying, like, I know that it's been burning everywhere else, burning through the paddocks and the forest, but it's kind of like this is like, you know, Narakbul and Gidabul are the oldest tribes in Australia, and remembering that Mount Wullumbini Mamoli or Wollumban, Mount Warning, is the first place to get light. So that's the first law for Australia, is that mountain. So that rainforest technically is the most sacred rainforest in Australia, because the oldest tribe came out of there. And it's like, and now it's burning in the middle of it. It's like, you can't just be like, oh yeah, global warming and
But
drought.
did some dumbass start it inadvertently?
They don't know. They don't know.
Potentially, but it was only, what was it? Only a few weeks, probably. Yeah, a few weeks ago, that there was a fire in the forest again, like in the rainforest, and no one lives up the back in where these fires were sort of starting. It was like,
have you been watching some of the shit that Dani's been posting in the last while? Like, I've caught a couple of things and sent them over to her, and like literally fucking power lines that you can see.
Oh, the trees.
Yeah, and if you watch it closely in slow mo, the fucking power is coming from the ground, traveling up out of the tree. So
trying to get out of the tree into the power
trying
line.
to get out of the ground, man.
And it just happens to be touching a power line, so it grounds out into the power line. Right. But if there's no power line there, discharge. It's just no.
One of the things we've been really looking at is not only like Earth being struck by massive fucking electricity, but massive discharges. Things like Drumheller in Alberta, and things like some of the stuff in even the Rockies all through it. If you look at it, it's electrical discharge. It's not being struck. It's electrical fucking discharge. And we've been watching that shit all over too. And like smart meters in California, and fucking the some of the fires that have started in BC, and even the last video that I saw that I sent Dani. That's a really great like view of it. Power coming out of the ground, zapping up can. And I don't think people are talking about it or know about it anymore.
No, I've been talking about it continuously. No one listens.
Well, and that's what Joe says. He's like, most likely it's coming out. And all we're seeing, like, the energy's already left, and all we're seeing is everything hitting its peak as it comes back down. So the energy's come out, gone where it needs to go, like completed its circuit, and then it's heating up through what do they call it, sonar luminescence, so it's reached its vibrational peak, and then we see it come back down.
It's more like an earth capacitor. You know what I mean? And the earth is saturated right now with the juice that's in it, and it's fucking looking to balance and equalize. And that capacitor is not even obeying the laws of physics anymore with the pole, like the dipole release thing. It's not doing that. It's looking for the path of least resistance now.
And that's what I'm saying. So, for example, like California.
This is that thing with the sun, Steve. This is the thing with the sun. The sun would normally probably take it.
Exactly, but like, it's dead stick. The sun is dead stick, so it's not taking it. Yeah. And this is the whole thing when I'm talking about, like, California is having massive earthquakes everywhere. We saw the big earthquakes hit in July, but they've had like massive amounts of swarm earthquakes, and not the San Andreas fault that everyone looks at, but all these other fault lines. But if you look at the fault lines and then look at where the fires are in California, you're like, dude.
Yeah,
exactly. Do you not see that the fires are following the fault lines? Fault lines. Massive amounts of static friction electricity. Got to discharge.
Got to go somewhere.
Got to discharge. Got to come out somewhere. And it's a ground that's full of iron and magnetic and electrically.
So why not it traveling straight up the power poles as well and blowing those lines out?
Well, it is. That's what it has been doing, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was back January, February, March, when there was all the transformers blowing all over America, all over the world, where you were watching the blue power, like just screaming across the power lines, and then hit a transformer and go boom, and then you get the big transformers, then you get all the flashing lights in the sky.
Yeah. So there's, I mean, it's funny because you put it into a certain context and it makes sense. Like it doesn't mean that we can map it out.
No.
But it makes sense. It's like, oh yeah, our gigantic transformer that normally fucking creates and discharges, that being the sun.
Yeah.
Is
he's on vacation right now.
Is literally the furthest away it could pretty much be. It couldn't be any further away, and therefore of little influence. And that just that fact being ignored is like, it's quite monumental. It's like, how's this happening? Or it's like, well, the colors in the sky. It's like, well, we don't have a sun to discharge, so our atmosphere is discharging it.
Yep. And when the atmosphere is full of particulates, what the hell is happening?
Yeah. And ozone and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the what's it, Miko Cut? What's his name? I can never get it right after fucking Miku Kachu or whatever his name is. That scientist.
I don't know.
Quite a good-looking Asian dude, and he was on CNN or MSNBC, and he was talking about how they were shooting 4 trillion volt electric lasers into the atmosphere to heat it up. And it's like,
great idea.
Well, what they don't just come up with the shit themselves.
No, of course.
Like that to me now, having our conversation right now, is actually them going, we actually have worked out that, and not just as in, oh, we've figured out that if we do this might happen. They know.
Yeah.
They know that volcanoes shoot that shit up.
Exactly.
They know that lightning bolts come out of the ground, not out of the sky.
And this is one of the things I said about the California fires, right? Is we have a major study that was released talking about the fact of, basically, under California, there's a supervolcano. It's a massive fucking supervolcano. Since the earthquakes that started in June, July, we've seen things like steam, fire coming out of the sewers. We've seen tar rising up near the La Brea tar pits. And I'm like, literally, everyone needs to go watch the movie Volcano. We've covered this shit already, right? And I said, someone was talking about, so just before the one big fire started, right, in California, you saw the 5 sparks, like on radar. It was like boom, 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 boom. And everyone was saying, oh, it's a dew weapon, it's an explosion. I'm like, no, man, it's a fucking massive electrical discharge. I said, you all watch like videos of the volcanoes, and what do you see coming out of the top of volcanoes as they're erupting? Massive fucking electrical discharges.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, never mind. That's just my pet peeve at the moment, because everyone is so fucking caught up in this narrative that is, point your fingers at some nefarious agency is causing this all on purpose. And I'm like, dudes.
Yep.
Dudes.
Yep. There may be a few like silly people lighting fires.
Yeah.
There may be a few
absolutely.
people this, that, and the other. But it's like, if you look at the Tunguska and you look at what Tesla talked about and that side of things, it's like the reason the power lines are going out is because they're a fucking circuit.
Yep.
They're a fucking circuit, and they're picking up on shit, whether it's coming from the power plants or whether it's coming from the earth. That's what's happening. We know that there's a build-up of charge. Now, this hasn't happened in the last decade or 2 decades. So why is it happening now? Well, because of conspiracy. It's like, well, I don't give humans that much fucking credit or that much fucking capability. Like, don't get me wrong. I think that we are divine beings capable of amazing things. But under this under this social status and this status quo that is currently existing, it's like, nah.
Now, that's not to say that there may not be some people in power who know these events are happening, who are now going, oh, how can I turn this to my advantage? What can I do to make something out of this disaster that we know is going to happen because we've already done all the charts and we know, right? So, no. I think there's fully people who are taking advantage of the situation.
Oh, I reckon that's 100%, and I think that's exactly what, like, birth certificates, I reckon that they've literally been astrologically mapping shit for fucking eons.
So, interesting. A little article came by. Nick and I were laughing about it today, and I actually saw the article a couple of months ago, and it just happened to fly by again, no pun intended. I was talking about spiders, and saying how spiders can't fly, but they'll put out these silk strings of their webs that then catch the electrical currents in the air and will carry them thousands of miles. And like Nick and I both said, no, they didn't say they make like a gossamer sail and fucking sail off in the wind. No. These gossamer threads, which are basically like large antenna, that are then capturing in the electrical charges in the air and flying thousands of miles.
Well, and it's funny that you bring that up, because it's like, just remember, I think once again that it was at the start of this year where they announced that birds, they've found that they have magnetite in their eyes or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Right? So they can see
the magnetic currents.
And we know that shit's been flying in weird places and stuff like that. I've been watching heaps of things finally fly south, so I've got a bit more faith in everything. But it's like, it's just funny. It's like the equation's not necessarily it's being put together, but it's not being held together.
Well, no, what it is it's, you said it earlier, it's micro. So one person or a group of people put together this piece of equation over here on the puzzle.
Yeah.
And then someone else puts over this equation over here. And someone over here, but no one's standing back and looking at the whole thing. It's like everyone's wanting to pinpoint on their narrative. That's my whole thing right now, is everyone is so caught up in their own narratives, they can't think outside their narrative. Everything must fit within their narrative. They can't see that perhaps their narrative is part of a bigger picture.
Yep, that's right. And there's, like, most people are stuck here on Earth. Most people are literally stuck here on Earth. It's like, do you forget everything that's out there?
No. Don't even go there, dude. Just ugh.
It's like, just get out of your own way. Like, fucking hell.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do right now. Trying to get out of my own way and trying to get out of the government of Malta's way, because fuck that shit.
Mm. Hey, I'm gonna have to go. I've just seen some shit blowing around that I should probably catch before it disappears somewhere.
Good call. And I have to go
The
put two
wind.
little boys to bed.
The winds have just started picking up, so all my tarps have started blowing around.
We'll go take your computer inside first.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll be the next thing blowing around.
I was going to attempt just walking off and seeing how far a distance I got, but
Yeah, no. Don't think that's a good idea.
all right, sweet. I'll try speaking to you soonish.
Okay, love. I'll have my crappy laptop with me while I'm in Spain.
Yeah,
so.
that's cool. Yeah, well, we should try. I think it's probably time to like actually launch on the planet.
Yeah, perhaps.
And set up some regular shit.
Yeah,
that what we should do is plan it so that it works in Montana and Australia. We'll work out like a perfect time, whether it's like Friday evening, which is actually a Saturday morning in Australia, and therefore it still fucking works.
Yeah, but you got to remember me too.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. It's like work it out properly, because the time difference between Australia and there's anywhere in the northern hemisphere is not so bad.
Right now it's good. We're at that thing because now we've gone to winter hours and Australia's gone to summer, so it's only like 10 o'clock at night our time, my time.
Yeah.
Is 8 o'clock in the morning Australia.
We'll see, and like right now here
2 o'clock in the afternoon in Montana.
Which today is Saturday. Yeah, so today is Saturday. Whereas if we were to look at like a Friday evening northern hemisphere, which is actually Saturday morning southern hemisphere, as long as the times work, we can start looking at taking out Joe Rogan's role and like literally aiming at like all the fucking seriously, dude, like get the Graham Hancocks on, get the fucking Mike V's on, go all like fucking just content driven. And see how many is like, let's talk about the shit that's going down.
I know, dude. I have a theory on that. So, well, we'll discuss it another time. You go catch your tarps. I'll go catch my boys. And you can bed yours down and I'll bed mine down.
Yeah. Lots of love. See you soon. Ciao, Nick. Good to speak to you finally for